Hey everybody, this is Business Inspiration with Coach Dana, Inspires.com, and we're glad you're here today. Today we have an exciting interview, and that is with Stormie Andrews with Yokel Local Internet Marketing, and he is an expert in finding out who you need to be talking to today to get your sales kicking. So first off, Stormie, hi, how are you? What's going on?
Hey, Dana, thanks for having me. I am so excited to be here with you. This morning, I was about to say this afternoon because I've been up for several hours and I think I'm on like my fourth cup of coffee. So time seems to elude me, but I'm doing awesome. So thanks for having me.
Great. And how are you and the family? Anybody get you had COVID, isn't that correct?
I did. I had COVID. I started coming out of it right around Thanksgiving. So my granddaughter got it. She had no symptoms, gave it to her dad, gave it to me and my other son. So we, all three of us were just sick here in the house, all fighting for our own survivals. When one felt better, it kind of helped out the other two and vice versa. But we
Oh
made it
dear.
through.
Well, I'm glad that the three Andrew men pulled it through. Thank you so much. Wow. And that's scary. You just don't know how you're going to do, how you're going to react to that. So I'm glad that you're doing well and so much better. Your granddaughter's okay?
Yeah,
She
she
had
had
no
no
symptoms?
symptoms. Myself and my oldest son, we were sick. For me, it was the sickest I've ever been in my life. We got it bad, but my
Wow.
granddaughter, for her, it was like she had no symptoms. Basically as if she had allergies or something.
Oh dear. Well, okay. Well, good for her. You go, girl.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, now speaking of COVID, we've been going through this now for about 10 months. And what are you hearing from your clients? Are you hearing positive things, gloom and doom, people moving forward? What are you hearing?
So it's interesting. I'm in a unique position where I get to speak to, I speak to thousands of business owners on over the course of an annual basis.
Right.
And they tend to fall into two different camps. There's the half glass empty camp and the half glass full camp. And what I've noticed is that the half glass empty camp, it says, you know what? COVID's got me. There's nothing I can do. And in effect, they're still in business, but it's almost like The Walking Dead versus the half glass full camp said, you know what, man, this sucks. It's hard, but how can I and what do I need to do to reinvent myself? And in many cases, they've reinvented themselves. And for many of them, they're mentioning that they're having some of their best quarters ever, and they're going to come out of this stronger than they ever have because they had to go back and really look internally and do this retrospective look into their business and determine how can they make their business better into this new world that we're in, and many of them are thriving.
Great. And I've heard that also that they're really, several of my good friends, they're doing better, the best year ever.
Yeah.
So I think, and you, like, as you said, reinvent yourself, look internally. What are you doing? I love that advice. And I think that's something that we can do. So as entrepreneurs, business people, what should we be doing right now? What should we be stepping into?
So one of the things, if you deal with customers, and whether your customer, if you're in the B2B environment or B2C environment, it really makes no difference. But you really have to think about your customer or your ideal customer more than ever, in my opinion. The world has changed, right? It's shifted. In March of last year, the world started to change, and it's a different place today than it was a year and a half ago. You have
Right.
to agree with that. There's no denying that. So if the world's shifted and the world's changed, well, there's a good possibility that your customers have changed. So whatever you've done to get your business to where it's gotten to, and it doesn't matter if you've been in business for 3 years or 30 years, that that adage of saying, well, we've always done it this way and we're going to continue to do it this way, unfortunately for many of you, that's just not going to cut it anymore. So start thinking about your customers. What are their pain points? What are their struggles? What do they want today? Because what's motivating them today may be totally different in regards to what motivated them a year and a half ago as it pertains to your goods and services.
Right. And you talk about finding your best buyer persona. Explain what is a buyer persona and how do we go about finding that?
Okay, so and that's what I'm known for in the industry. So I am super glad that you brought that us up. So my book, I've created a system called the World's Best Buyer Persona System. And it's a documented journey of a system that I've spent years putting together. And it's amazing how important it is today. And it's always been important. So if you've heard the term buyer persona or the term customer avatar, they mean the exact same thing, just a different way of saying the same thing. But what is it? It's essentially nothing more than a fictional representation of your ideal customer. So you may be saying, okay, why do I need a fictional representation of my ideal customer, right? Well, many times I'll talk to businesses and I'll say, tell me about the customers you're getting now. Or do you have just a constant stream of the very, very best people you like to work with? Is that who you're doing business with? Or are you just doing business with whoever you can get to do business with you? Big difference, right?
Yep.
So when you go through the process of working on a buyer persona, or in my case, the World's Best Buyer Persona System, what it's designed to do is designed to have you start really thinking about the needs, the desires, the wants, the triggering events, the motivations, the pain points, the struggles, as it from your ideal customers, from their lens, because they're going to see the world a little bit differently than you, right? It's not about what's important to you, it's about what's important to them. So by going through this exercise, it allows you to change your messaging, whether it be your digital messaging, the messaging you put up on Facebook, your website, Twitter. If you have salespeople, it changes their messaging. If you have customer service people, it changes their messaging because it helps them empathize more effectively with your customers. So it really makes no difference if you're a one-man shop or a one-person shop, because you could be a one-woman shop also, right? So if you're a one-person shop or a 30,000 employee shop, it really makes no difference. The better you understand your customer, the better you understand their psychographics, their emotions, their pain points, the better you can serve them. And in the sales stage, the better you can match your goods and services to their needs and desires. And by doing that, some side benefits are it tends to speed up the sales cycle. It tends to improve customer service and customer relations. And what I've noticed is when customers effectively implement the World's Best Buyer Persona System, it does an incredible job of attracting the type of people that you want to do business with, while at the same time repelling the people you don't want to do business with. So think about this for just a second. Think about two customers that you're doing business with. Think of your very best customer. You know, the one that's you're excited to speak to. They have a great personality or disposition. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. They pay their bills on time, most likely, right? But think about the customer that you do business with, that if you said to yourself, like, wow, I wish I had more of this person.
Yep.
On the other, and then I also want you to think about the other camp. Think about the person that you do business with. They're one of your customers that you wish they weren't your customer, right? And you probably knew that they shouldn't have been your customer the first time you met them, but there was probably a money squeeze. You had some sales budgets or quotas, so you're like, oh, I really don't want to do business with this person, but I need the money, so I'm going to do it. Well, that's a horrible position to be in. And so what if you never have to take on one of those types of customers again, because you have so many of your ideal customers that are banging on your door to do business with, that you feel good and righteous about turning that other business away? That's really what the World's Best Buyer Persona System helps you do. But in the world of COVID, it's been an incredible blessing for so many businesses, because it helps you identify how your customers have shifted, how their mind shift has shifted, their motivations, how that has shifted. So what their motivation, their needs, their desires, their triggering events were once before, this system, this platform is designed to help you determine what those things are now, to give you the ability of changing your message to what's important to them today, not what was important to them yesterday. Does that make sense?
I love it, because, and I do know that there's so many people out there that are doing business with somebody purely because I needed the money, so I better take this person on. I better take this job, whatever that situation is. I know that, and I have done it myself, saying, well, I have to take anybody who wants me, and I don't think that's true, because
right.
by using this system, we can find an abundance of people who want us and are a good fit for us.
Correct. That's exactly the case.
Not just want us. We want
Absolutely.
the good fit.
You want the good fit.
I love it. I love it. So you have the book.
So the book is The World's Best Buyer Persona System.
Okay.
Yep.
And that book takes us step by step through that. Is that correct?
It does. It takes us step by step through the process of one, the first thing, not the first thing, but the first step that the book has you go through, or one of the first steps, is identifying the types of customers you're working with today, right? Let's identify who we're working with today and the type of customer. And then it helps you identify their profitability scale. We have you go through a process of rating them in terms of profitability for a scale of 1 to 10. But then the next exercise we have you do is identify the people you're working with today on a scale of desirability, which is more important than profitability in many cases. And then we have you identify what the length of the sales cycle. So it's a formula that helps you identify who you should be working with, who you shouldn't be working with. But one of the important factors there, I did mention profitability, but it's that desirability. Who do I want to work with? Because profit isn't necessarily, for many businesses, that's not necessarily the driving factor. It's, I want to have fun. I want to enjoy and feel fulfilled by my work, which
Right.
is, so the desirability scale there. So once you go through that and you identify, if I could only have one type of customer that I want to work with, well, let's identify that person. Let's build a persona for that person. From there, then we start going into the psychology of that person. Now, with that being said, my recommendation is once you build a persona for that person, then we go back and build a persona for the second most desirable. You can have multiple personas, but let's build the one that's most desirable first.
Right, right. I love that. And I do know you have a worksheet that people can download from your website. And that is, yes.
I'm able to share. So there it is. For those of you that are watching, here's what that worksheet looks like. How's that? Since you couldn't share, I'm sharing.
You're a sharing kind of guy.
I tell you.
I'll just tell you. So this takes you step by step through this. And if someone has your book and is reading your book, this is what this is designed for, to really get them to dig deep and to find out what they need to do to find that perfect fit.
Absolutely. Because how are you going to do it? Everyone says, I don't want to say everyone, but many people say, man, I wish I had more of you, Mrs. Jones. You're my perfect customer and you're who I would love to work with, which is great. But then they stop there, right? They never identify or document what is it that they like about Miss Jones. So if you're not going to document what you like about Miss Jones and go through that process, how in the world are you going to get more Miss Jones, with the exception of this wish that you put out in, La La Land? So the intentions are there, but let's just follow up on them. Is that a fair statement?
Right. I like it.
So then from there, is it okay if I share the next worksheet?
Oh, yeah, please do.
Yeah, so now that you've done this, because you're saying, okay, I got your book, Stormie, and that's it, I'm going to fill out this 4-page, this 4-line document. No, but then from there, once you have your Miss Jones, we go through a process to where we really start getting into the weeds. Because imagine, so for this second segment, I already started with Miss Jones as your ideal client, right? So the worksheet, and by the way, you can download these worksheets totally for free on our website. You know what I mean? So it's not like, hey, I've got to go give Stormie some money to download these worksheets. You can do it and work your way through it. The book is something that guides you through the process, where it gives you the steps, step by step, without paying someone like me lots of money to walk you through. So that's, you know what I mean? So,
and thank you for that, Stormie. Yes,
absolutely. So what the persona does is you give your persona a name, you identify their age, their income, their title, but then let's identify as it pertains to your Miss Jones, right? In this box number 5, it states what situation needs to be resolved. You notice we're not talking about what she wants to buy, because now we're thinking about our goods and services, but what situation is Miss Jones really looking for to get resolved as it pertains to your goods and services? Let's identify that. And then really, what does she want from this? And where we're going from this, we start getting into this process where we start identifying your ideal client, their emotions, because we want to identify the problems that this situation that they find themselves in, what types of problems has this caused? We want to identify these problems lead to what emotions, because you may not know this, but we are emotional creatures, and the vast majority of our decisions are based on emotions, not logic, even though we like to think we're logical. And I like to tell people this: If you want to know what a logical creature looks like, go watch an episode of Star Trek. And if it's old school Star Trek, it's Spock. If it's new school Star Trek, it's Data. And newer school, Spock is back again. Watch that. That's a logical creature. The rest of us are emotional, right? So if we make decisions based on emotions, let's figure out what the emotions are. And then we want to identify like action, their belief systems. If Miss Jones takes action, what does she believe the ideal outcome would be? On the other hand, if Miss Jones doesn't take action, what is her belief system as it pertains to not taking any action? And then we want to identify triggering events. Why now? Why is Miss Jones reaching out to you now versus a year ago or 6 months ago or 2 years from now? It's important to identify what the triggering events are, because even with COVID, a lot of those triggering events have changed. They've changed their motivations, right? The worksheet helps you identify noise in the marketplace. What else is Miss Jones seeing? What is she being told or hearing? And what is she even doing about it? We go through as she's searching for a solution. How do you gain trust using empathy? And you can't do it. Really the question is, why should she trust you? And then what gives you the authority to provide the solution? That's a worksheet on its own, which we're not going to go over here, but it's its own worksheet, because I'll ask people, why should someone trust you? And they'll say something like, well, we're a family-owned business. And I'm like, so what? Any of your competitors can say, well, we're family-owned business too. That doesn't set you apart. Or you say something like, well, when we've got great customer service. So then I would say something like, well, do your competitors advertise that they have poor customer service? No, you're saying stuff that's expected for you to say because you're in business. You're supposed to have good customer service. So if you start throwing those "so what" me too statements, this type of system holds you to the fire, because if you sound like everyone else, you're going to get the same results as everyone else, and everyone else typically does not get the results that they're looking for. So it really pushes you to the fire to really help you identify what sets you apart in the marketplace. And that leads us into something a phrase that we coined called TINB, which stands for there is no B. How can you create messaging in a system, in a process for Mrs. Jones' eye that she couldn't even imagine not doing business with you, right? And it's so, her conviction is so strong for your goods and services that she tells everyone she knows that as it pertains to your goods and services, that you're the only game in town, and they're crazy if they don't do business with you. That's a great position to be in, where you have these raving fans and advocates that are on the street corners, preaching about how fantastic you are. And Miss Jones, if she believes it, then she's able to share it, which is a lot different than you saying that about yourself. So, the world's best buyer persona system helps you go through those steps, but then it helps you identify what I'm showing on the screen for those of you that are watching this is on the back side of the worksheet. We have something called awareness stage, consideration stage, and decision stage. Well, if she's in the awareness stage where she's just aware that she has a pain point and a problem, let's identify what she might be doing as she's looking for a solution. She's not ready to buy your goods and services, but what is she doing? What is she asking Google? Wouldn't it be nice to know that? Well, we take you through the process to figure out what Mrs. Jones is doing in the awareness stage and how you can help her during that stage without sales pressure. Same thing for the consideration stage, same thing for the decision stage. And then what happens is on the back part of the buyer persona system is we identify her feelings. If she wins, if everything turns out the way she had hoped and prayed for, what does she feel like? Feel like is the important part. And then on the other hand, what would she feel like if she loses? So it gives you the ability of your messages being delivered correctly, that you're taking her from a state of to a different state. And then once you fill out this worksheet, the cool thing is we go through some positioning factors, which is another worksheet that I talked about earlier. What sets, what makes you different. But then, and we have other worksheets that we go through, but this worksheet here is pretty cool. It's kind of like ad libs, where from the worksheet above, if you notice, for those of you that are watching, each of the boxes are numbered. So number 1 is persona name. Box number 7 is what problems, what situation. And we go all the way down to 25 boxes. Well, then I have this ad lib sheet where you can just take whatever your answer was in box number 1, transfer it to box number 1, and so on and so on. And it helps you create this narrative in this story. And it's going to be a really rough version. My recommendation would be, once you finish this narrative, for those of you that are not creative writers, well, now it gives you this outline where you can create Mrs. Jones. You can create her situation and her scenario. So if you are going to hire someone to do your social media messaging, you give them this and you say, this is who I need you to create messaging for. If you're going to have someone build your website, this is the messaging and the person that we need to attract. And you share this document with anyone that's involved with helping your business grow.
Right. And to me, Stormy, I really appreciate you sharing this because when I very first heard, because I've known you for a year or so now, when I very first heard this, buyer's persona, I thought, oh, what a bunch of blah blah, just another title for something that we already know what it is, whatever. But honestly, this worksheet is so powerful and so helpful, and with the book to guide you, I think it's a real nice way of learning about your business and how you can grow it. And again, we can just, all our viewers can go to your website, worldsbestbuyerpersona.com,
Yep.
and download this worksheet. So and that's for free, and we really appreciate you being able to provide that. And so if our viewers have other questions, they can certainly go to your website and contact you, and you can show them some things, talk to them, and that would be super helpful for them. So this is great information. Thank you so much, Stormy, for sharing this. Your company name is Yokel Local Internet Marketing. Okay, I think we're just going to have to ask the obvious question. Now that we know what a buyer persona is, what's with the Yokel Local there, Stormy?
Yeah, so Yokel Local, and that's really what our trade name is. That's what we go by. And so yokel, one of the definitions of yokel is someone who understands the landscape better than anyone else. So if you
Okay.
find yourself lost in unfamiliar territory, right? You're just lost. One of the best people that you can find to guide you to safety is a yokel, right? They understand the
Yeah.
landscape better than anyone else. Well, the landscape that we deal in is this thing called the internet, right? It's a landscape that many business owners, marketers, they find themselves lost, and they're like, man, I wish I could find a guide. So I could have named ourselves Guide, but that's not as fun as Yokel Local, right? So when we originally started, so when Yokel Local started, we started back in 2010, and we're located in Las Vegas. And in 2010, for those of you that are not aware, Las Vegas was in a bad place. We were the epicenter of the housing crisis. Everything was falling out of the sky, and that's when I started Yokel Local, in the middle of that stuff, right? In Las Vegas, the heart of the stuff. And I figured that, you know what, if we can go out there, I know a lot about marketing. I used to be the vice president of sales and marketing for a home builder, a VP at a mortgage bank. So, and my business partner is this incredible internet marketer. And we're like, man, a lot of business owners are just lost. They're struggling. They're hurt. If we can help some of the local businesses in the Las Vegas Valley, maybe we can save a few jobs and keep some people from getting laid off. And we did. We exceeded what our expectations were, and Yokel Local turned into a thriving business. And now today we find ourselves 10 years later, we find ourselves in the same scenario. And the process of building out the world's best buyer persona, it actually started. Do I have time to kind of share this personal story? To take about 4 or 5 minutes. If not, then I won't.
Yeah, no, let's go. Let's do it.
So people ask me, like, Stormy, how'd you come up with this system? So, back in 2008, I was able to co-author a book with Jag Canfield, Brian Tracy, called, well, basically my chapter was on effective communication techniques. That's what I was known for in the industry, communicating effectively, belly to belly, one-on-one. Well, now the world of the internet comes along, and we have this digital communication piece, and there was a huge disconnect. Well, I want to go back to, my upbringing, because my dad worked for the government, and we moved a lot. As a matter of fact, it wasn't until my 11th and 12th grade year in high school that I attended the same school 2 years in a row. And sometimes I'd attend multiple schools in the same school year. We were just moving. And as we moved into a wide variety of communities, some that you would call, we move into urban environments, sometimes suburban environments. And when you look at me, I kind of have this look where a lot of people really don't know what race or nationality I am, but I'm actually a black guy that looks like a white guy, right? I'm light-skinned, and people just don't know what I am. But as we moved into different communities in a wide variety of cultures, I found myself in this survival mechanism of having to blend into a wide variety of communities, because some communities that we would move into, like I said, some highly urban, some highly suburban, I had to have this different persona. So I've been working on this persona system, how to effectively communicate, since I was like 3 or 4. I mean, since I was like 5 years old, right? So I've been
Right.
on this journey forever. So that led me to, why is that? When I got into sales, I would dominate whatever industry I was in sales. And it all came down to was I was just better at communicating with whoever I was in front of, because I was highly adaptable to a lot of different people for a wide variety of cultures. So I wanted to know why. I got my certification in neurolinguistic programming, NLP, and that it kind of helped me learn some of the science behind it. So I wondered, how can we change this and apply this to the digital world? That
Right.
ultimately led to the world's best buyer persona system. So that was me documenting the system, doing my best to perfect the system since Yoka Local started back in 2010. And I was just able to get this into a system to share with the world this past year.
Whoa, record
How was
time.
that?
And first off, I love the story. I can just see this 5-year-old little kid going, okay, I'm just going to adapt. What am I doing here? And growing up, learning those things sort of innately, and then being able to put it for a process for all of us to really increase our businesses. It's fabulous. And I just need to comment on your little you called it something, the thing in the background.
My hologram.
Your hologram. Yes, thank you. I love that because it's a Y and an L, Yoka Local, and then it says Yoka. I just love that kind of stuff. And it's so fun to watch. And you're fun and it's fun and you've got this energy. And anybody who wants to talk to Stormie, all you need to do is go to worldsbestbuyerpersona.com. You can also go to stormieandrews.com or yokalocal.com, and that's how you can reach out to Stormie, ask questions, find out information, and go get your free worksheet on the world's best buyer persona and check out his book. Great stuff, great information. And Stormie, we could be talking about this for another hour and a half, and I really appreciate your time. So Stormie, I want you to have a great day. Keep going. And until next Tuesday, everybody, have a great day, and we'll see you next Tuesday on Business Inspiration. Thanks, everybody.